It's ChrystalChyna, and we are back with another episode of Musicology 101.
Let's get it.
Let's get it. Before we get into episode 3, if you guys could hit that subscribe button.
Hit it right now.
Hit it right now.
Right now.
Before you forget, pretty please.
We are trying to get to a good point of subscribers so we keep doing what we're doing. Because we love doing these musicology reports.
All of the musicology reports that we have done so far, they're very special to us, and this one is very, very special to us as well. And we're going to do this on a very special, extraordinary woman who really shaped a lot of singers that we know today, and you know, she really paved the way. Drum roll.
Phyllis Hyman. Let's get it.
Phyllis Hyman was born Phyllis Linda Hyman on July 6, 1949 in Philadelphia.
Philly in the house.
Philadelphia.
I feel like all the best singers low-key come from Philadelphia.
Philadelphia soul. She was the eldest of 7 brothers and sisters. At a very early age, Phyllis did express vocal ability. She had an elementary teacher that noticed her vocal ability and helped her nurture her talents. At the end of high school, she was awarded a music scholarship to Robert Morris University. And then also, as her plan B, she did train to also be like a legal secretary because she was being smart in her mind. Very smart. To all the artists out there.
Right. We all have,
most of us have plan Bs.
Most of us have plan Bs.
Okay. Anybody who's not an artist or creative, just know that we ain't out here just, you know,
sitting back
and you know, hoping, wishing, and wanting.
Right.
I mean, we are hoping, wishing, and wanting, but
you also gotta pay the bills.
Right. So
that was her plan
B.
So that if singing didn't work out for her at the moment, she was educated in something else.
While Phyllis was attending college, she did take advantage, and she was singing everywhere. She was singing with various bands, and by 1971 she was able to go on tour with a pianist by the name of Dick Morgan. After 1971, Phyllis did relocate to Miami.
Miami.
What is it, 305?
City girls with the 305, get a booty, pretty face, it thighs, period. I don't think Phyllis would have liked that, but
right. But like, we just had to throw
that.
So Phyllis did move to Miami, and of course she was still taking advantage of her voice, and she was still, you know, singing with various bands still in Miami. But she also went there to study voice. In 1974, Phyllis did make an appearance in a Lenny Bruce biopic. So just throw that out there.
She was a nightclub patron. That's cool.
She was trying to get it, you know.
She was coming up.
She was coming up at the time. While still living in Miami, Phyllis actually formed her own band. It was called Phyllis Hyman and the PH Factor. While she was studying voice, she decided to start her own band, and then
she was touring with them.
Yeah, and they toured together for a couple years, and then she actually ended up settling in New York. Phyllis moving to New York, that was like probably the most genius thing that she could have ever done in her early career, because it gave her the opportunity to be a regular performer at 2 of the hottest nightclubs that attracted like a certain type of echelon of musicians. Like it attracted Stevie Wonder, Ashford and Simpson, George Benson. Like all of them were rushing to that club to hear her sing. The name of those 2 clubs that were actually only 2 blocks away from each other, one of them was called Russ Brown's and the other one was called McHale's. So she was a regular performer at both of those clubs. So she had celebrities, already established musicians, like bum rushing her to hear her sing. From this exposure, this new exposure that she was getting from her living and settling in New York and performing at the nightclubs, she actually did catch the attention of Norman Connors.
Come take me out tonight, and don't be late, and don't you come too soon. Yeah. I wasn't planning to stay. I tried to leave, then you looked my way.
Yeah.
You whispered into my ear the words that I have been longing to hear. Then you invited me. Yeah.
Right. So Norman Connors is a genius, a
Right.
producer and a percussionist. So Phyllis caught the attention of him from her extraordinary voice, and I'm sure her extraordinary looks, because Phyllis Hyman was gorgeous.
Yes.
Okay.
Her entire life.
Her entire life. Okay. So that's a whole nother thing. So through Phyllis getting acquainted with Norman Connors, he actually became like a mentor to her. And then he gave her a featured performer slot on his 1976 album, You Are My Starship, which I love. I love that album. A song that most of us is familiar with hearing, like first hearing Phyllis on was Bet You by Golly Wow. She actually did a cover of that song. Bet you by golly wow, you're the one that I've been waiting for forever, and ever will my love for you keep growing strong, keep growing strong. Woo!
Yeah.
There's a spark of magic in your eyes, candy-lit appears each time you smile.
Yeah. The writing
Gave her a #1, and it did make some space for her on the R&B charts. And then after that, she was able to be acquainted with Linda Creed, who actually co-composed that song,
Bet You by Golly
Bet
Wow.
You by Golly Wow. So that gave her that relationship, but it also put Phyllis on the map.
Based off the success of Bet You by Golly Wow, the cover, she was able to release her self-titled debut album in 1977 under Buddha Records.
No singles included: Loving You, Losing You, No One Can Love You More, and Beautiful Man of Mine.
Following that album, she actually signed to Arista Records, and she released her second album, Somewhere in My Lifetime,
Back in 1978, so that was only a year after
her debut
with Buddha Records.
But now she moved on to Arista, and she's coming out with something new. But then the real magic happened for her third album. When she came out with You Know How to Love Me, which actually followed with the single of the same name.
So this album actually gave that magic. It gave Phyllis like that magic to me. That's a personal opinion.
I mean, word on the street, she didn't really like You Know How to Love Me, but
I mean, they always don't like
I know,
the hit songs.
but she sang the hell out
She
of that
did,
one.
though.
She
You know how to love me, shall you do? You know how to make it right, so nice. You know how to love me, there's no denying. Sweet as morning light. That album was actually written and produced by M2May and Reggie Lucas. And if you're wondering, I mean, I will hope that you guys know who M2May is.
Right, that's another
but I know that
sample
name.
that we're gonna-
that's another
sample
sample
history we're gonna have to
go
cover.
into.
But you definitely know Juicy Fruit.
Juicy. Due to the impression that Phyllis actually left on her New York audience early in her career, she was able to score her first role on Broadway in the 1981 Duke Ellington tribute, Sophisticated Ladies, and that was a big deal back in the day. That was like almost like, or on the level of Dreamgirls back in the 80s. So that was a big deal for her.
Through this, Phyllis actually earned a Tony nomination for Best Supporting Actress in a Musical. So
She was climbing.
a Tony, like, you know
That's
what I'm
a
saying?
big
Like,
deal.
I feel
Broadway.
like, like a lot of people, I don't know if people understand the importance of a Tony, but that's major.
That's major. Phyllis was for sure making her mark. Actually, she released 2 more albums on Arista, and that was between the years of 1981 and 1983. Then in 1986, she actually signed over to Philadelphia International to work with Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff,
Who we've also covered in our Jones Girls video.
Yeah, go watch that.
Go watch that one.
Yeah.
If you already have it already.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, Philadelphia International, they're known for producing that real Philadelphia soul.
Right.
Which subsequently, I mean, she's from Philly, so she already has that in her heart, really. She released under Philadelphia International. A lot of her fans feel like that was her best work. But during that time, Phyllis was actually going through a lot. And she was going through a very dark and turbulent time in her life.
It did appear in her music. But going back, I think that Phyllis always did struggle with
her mental health.
With mental health, just trying to maintain
herself in this crazy industry and go through depression at the same time. And you know, back then that was taboo,
Right.
So like a lot of people weren't really open like we are today as far as mental health struggles,
Right.
especially us black people,
Right.
And even today we still aren't, but you know, we're having more conversations today. Back then
They weren't having any conversation.
no, that was
really.
just like, girl, what's wrong with
Right.
you? So, of course, Phyllis wasn't exactly the most open person early in her career. But when she moved on to Philly International, you can start to hear more of it in her music.
Well, I'm gonna go into it. When she released her Living All Alone album, you can definitely hear those emotional, dark undertones. Like you can hear the pain. Like even today, like sometimes it's hard for me to listen to that song because it really does sound like she's crying. It's the same thing when I listen to Donny Hathaway. Like it's so much pain in the voice, and you can hear it. And I mean, I think that, yeah, I could understand why fans would feel like that those times of her being on Philadelphia International were like her best works. But it's just still hard for me because I don't feel like she really got to enjoy the, you know,
The
like
fruits of
the
her
fruits of
labor.
her labor because she was going through so much and she was, you know, just really dealing or battling with herself.
Of leaving Arista and moving on to Philly International, still battling with, you know, the upcoming competition that she had to deal
Right.
with, i.e.
Whitney. So Phyllis was battling drug and alcohol addiction. She was also having body issues, body image issues, which for a lot of women, especially in the industry, occurs. But she was going through all of that emotion while still staying on top, still performing, selling out like a lot of urban, you know, theaters, like the Apollo, just for example. She was still doing that, but still battling a lot of emotion.
I like to point out also while Phyllis,
I like
to point out while Phyllis was going through her body changes,
Right.
her fashions, the African garb, the hats, the makeup, just she still knew how to dress herself
Put herself together.
put herself together
Sexy.
for her body change. It still was very sexy and very iconic. I just wanted to add that.
Yes,
in there.
I'm glad you did. Also dealing with, you know, all of her depression. I'm just going back to how we mentioned how she became acquainted early in her career with Linda Creed. They actually became really close, very close friends. And Phyllis was very affected by her death. And so, you know, her fans were well aware of all the battles that Phyllis was going through because she was doing, like, you know, she was still doing interviews, and one in particular, she was on the Arsenio Hall show, and she expressed we trying to be serious. She expressed, you know, her sadness and her loneliness. So her fans were well aware of what she was experiencing and feeling. But on June 30th, 1995, Phyllis was actually slated to perform at the Apollo.
I think with the Whispers.
With the
right?
Whispers. I love them.
Me too. That's
LA.
next.
That's warm with them, but she actually lost her battle, and she did pass away by suicide. We won't go all the way up into that, but I do want to acknowledge impact on us because even though she died or she passed away just a year before we were born, like we grew up on Phyllis Hyman, and our mom even has an autographed picture from her, so that's very cool. Like I remember we were going through like pictures and stuff when me and China found it, and she was like, yeah, like she autographed it for me. She was very nice. So Phyllis Hyman definitely meant a lot to us as singers and as women also in the industry and trying to be great singers and also being black women.
Right.
So I mean, her story means a lot. Her music has touched a lot of lives.
I definitely hear, you know, her influence on Toni Braxton. A lot of people always say Anita Baker.
Right.
Yeah. But I definitely hear Phyllis's influence on Toni
Braxton.
So just wanted to put that out there. But
She even paved the way for Anita.
She did.
Because she came before.
All in all, you know, Phyllis was an amazing talent. We love her so much, and I think the biggest takeaway that we want all of you guys to take away is that she deserves, even to this day, her flowers, her due diligence, and all the artists that we cover as well deserve it as well, whether they're still here with us or they have passed on. We still want to make sure of that. But please tell us what you guys think about this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us everywhere.
ChrystalChyna.
Yes, and please tell us what you guys want to see next.
We can't wait to hear from you guys. We love you guys. Thank you guys so much for the support, the shares, the likes. Please, again, like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you want to see next, and we'll be back with the next episode.
Love you. Bye.